back and.
All right. So now I'm recording,
Okay.
and am going to just reiterate a little bit what I just said so that you can go back and look at
That would
it
be
later.
great. Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome. So we were talking about your astrology chart and how your moon in your chart, which represents the way you reflect on things, your inner emotional security needs, your inner world just in general, um, the way you need to be nurtured and the way you nurture others, and how you process feelings. So this is the most personal thing in the entire chart. It's our most it's our private inner experience, um, the way we feel life,
Mm.
and um, and that position in your chart doesn't have any aspects to it at all except for an in conjunction to Chiron. Now Chiron is our deepest pain in life, and it's the wounded healer archetype where, because we've hurt so deeply there, once we're in a position to do some healing in that area, it gives us a great deal of compassion and wisdom for how to offer a healing presence to others in that area. And when we do that, it also helps heal us, because we can't have that compassion for other people without also feeling that compassion for ourselves. And then likewise, the more we feel that compassion for ourselves, the more we can extend it to others. Um, so this is, something that's in everybody's chart in different places, and it's the wounded healer archetype, like I was saying. And a lot of people try to run from it, and it can be a very challenging thing to have happen. Like if there are transits to it, like if the sun, um, is in the same part of the zodiac as Chiron, or like transiting Chiron, hitting other planets, shows us where we need to, or what we need to heal about those things. And I see Chiron as being like a visit from Chiron is like a visit to the dentist, sort of. Um, so when you go into the dentist and, let's say you need to get a root canal, the dentist, as he's pushing on that spot and saying, does that hurt? You're like, yes. And the thing is, it can seem like this terrible, awful thing going to the dentist, but if you just let the doctor do his work and just be with it, and do whatever healing, whatever processing, whatever um, self-acceptance and integration you need to do related to that pain, then it ends up being a very um, beneficial thing.
Mm.
Because even though it might not be the most pleasant experience in the world, when Chiron is involved doing that healing work, the Dr. Chiron, um, it's a very valuable thing. And once it's done, now the tooth is fine.
Mm.
So it's something that a lot of people want to avoid. Like, a lot of people want to avoid the dentist. However, if they know what's good for them, they go ahead and deal with it anyways. So what I was saying is that with having an in conjunction between your moon and Chiron, it means that those two placements kind of just don't get each other very well. Like when there's an in conjunction in a chart, like the two placements are just kind of like what is this guy even doing?
Mm.
I just don't get it at all. Like what is he even saying right now?
Yeah.
There's just this disconnect. Like
Yeah.
they just don't understand each other.
And
So
just to be clear, and that I'm seeing this correctly in the chart, that's the dashed green line from the moon going upwards towards the number eight.
yes,
Eight. Yeah. Okay. And then there's a couple of black dotted lines going up.
sure. So
What
those
does
are
that mean?
those are minor aspects, and usually there's just so much going on in a chart that usually there's so much going on in a chart that I'm mostly just focused on the major aspects
Okay.
because there's just already so much to talk about.
So the
And
blue and red lines are aspects, what you're calling aspects.
right. So,
Okay.
okay. So the blue and red are major aspects,
Right.
and
Okay. Got
the
it.
light black dotted lines are minor aspects. So what I
Okay.
think you actually have here, and like I said, I don't work with minor aspects much, but I think you actually have something called a Thor's hammer going to your moon. I have not worked with this aspect figure much, and I don't really have much to say about it because I just don't have
Yeah,
the
that's fine.
knowledge base really, but I think that might be what that is.
Okay.
And tapping into some of those, actually, that doesn't feel right. All right. So basically, the thing that stood out to me like right away when I looked at your chart, other than that you've got, you know, two envelopes in your chart and all those kites, is that you have like your inner world and your emotional world doesn't have any aspects to any other placements in your chart except to Chiron. And the aspect to Chiron is this dotted green line that, you know, just basically means that they just like don't understand each other at all. So
Okay.
it's like the rest of your being just doesn't get your inner world and your emotional needs. Like, you know, Venus is our sense of loveliness. Mars is our power to do and our drive to go after things we want and compete and stand up for ourselves. Our sun is our sense of vitality and it's how we shine and it's how we like to be seen. Our Mercury is how we reason through things. And, you know, Saturn is our sense of responsibility. Jupiter's our worldview. Yeah, Pluto's our drive to transform. Um,
Wow.
and like Uranus is where we are a revolutionary and where we like fight for our freedom. And Neptune is kind of like our connection um, to other realms, I guess you could say, and like our dream world and our imagination and that sort of thing. And none of those things has any connection to your like emotional processing and your inner world, the most
Wow.
personal part of your chart. Yeah.
I find that so fascinating. I'm actually getting the shivers listening to you because it makes so much sense. Uh, just from, yeah, my whole life experience and beginning with the fact that my mother was under really severe pressure to have me aborted.
Oh.
And that for, you know, for most of my life, I've not really wanted to even be here on this planet, you know. So everything you're saying actually makes so much sense to me. Yeah, I appreciate that. And hearing what you just did, the run through of the planets and what they mean, yeah, that I really appreciate that too, because I never heard anything like that before. So
You're
thank you.
welcome. So I think that it's really important to note that self is not in our chart, and self can access any of these placements. So
Mhm.
even though your other planets just are completely, in a way, like completely disconnected from your moon, and not completely, I can, well, there aren't any aspects. So there's not like energy actively going, you know, to and from the moon and any of these other planets.
Right.
So that aside, self does have the ability to connect to your moon and to um, hold your moon in love. And, you know, even though your other aspects aren't going to actively challenge your moon and, you know, actively support your moon or
Mhm.
anything like that, And there are a lot of aspects in your chart just in general. So they are all very involved with each other. Your moon's just kind of on its own. And it's interesting that you mentioned your mother, because the moon actually does represent our mother in our chart. And
Yeah.
sounds like maybe she felt pretty alone too.
Oh my God, did she ever? She's had such a troubled life too,
Yeah.
and she was totally alone. Like she was Kirchheim unter Teck, where I was born. She was sent to a home for unwed teenage girls. She was only 17, and she was at 4 months pregnant to basically hide the shame and disgrace of her being pregnant and all of that, and you know she had a horrific time in that place. And so yeah, I guess everything you're saying makes total sense. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious. I'm going to peek at your chart again. All right. So your 12th house is in Cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Cancer is ruled by the moon. And because your 12th house is in Cancer, your 12th house is connected with the moon and kind of serves the moon in a way. And the 12th house represents a lot of different things in astrology. But one of the things that it represents is institutions and, somebody's hospitalized or in the military or in prison, somewhere, in some kind of organization where there's like a loss of individual identity and a loss of, freedom that um, like those situations are very much related to the 12th house or represented by the 12th house. And the 12th house also represents the prenatal period of our lives before we're born.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's kind of a goosebumpy
Totally
connection for
is.
me.
Yeah, and not only that, I was born in an institution, but then for my entire first year, I was actually in an institution because
Okay.
I was taken away from my mother and put in a home. Well,
Wow.
so yeah.
That,
And my mother was only allowed to see me for 2 hours on Saturdays, apparently. So again, that whole disconnect from the moon and everything, like in the mother, like that's so spot on. Yeah.
wow. It sounds like a very, 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 very painful experience for her. And then for you as well as,
Yeah.
you know, as having that connection with
Yeah.
her and
Yeah.
um, having that
Yeah.
need for nurturing that wasn't being filled. So that's a pretty heavy thing. And I had no intention of getting into anything really heavy, like especially right off the bat in this call, but that's what stood right out to me in your chart. And
Yeah. I really appreciate it. It all feels extremely validating. And can you give me more specific, like a hint, a clue? Like, I mean, I have a sense of it, but anything specific that I could focus on with all of that? Like,
well,
it,
so so what I'm attempting to do here, and I mean honestly, I am just kind of flowing in a way as well because well because that's what I do, and
yeah.
because this is a bit of a new thing. So the idea of this call is that we can um, have you ask inside to see if there's a part that resonates with a certain planet, and then if you're able to interact with that part, then you can actually like talk to the planets in your chart. And how cool is that?
Yeah.
So that being said, I'm not a therapist and I'm not actually like IFS certified. So this is basically like an ISF informed astrological consultation, you could say. And the idea
Yeah.
of it is just to do parts mapping
Yeah.
and, not go to exiles and not do unburdening, just to respect the, um, the bounds of my level of training and licensing.
Of course.
So it sounds like this is a part of you that may very well be in exile. Well, but it's your whole inner world though,
Mm.
So like, how can your whole inner world be in exile? That
It could be. I understand that. I do understand that idea. No, it
okay.
actually makes sense. Yeah.
Let me tell you a little bit more about your moon, because
Sure.
we haven't even, all we've done so far is talked about the general nature of the moon and
Okay.
the um, lack of aspects, and then just this like lack of understanding with your pain,
Right.
essentially.
Hmm.
However, there's also like it's in a certain sign and it's in a certain house, so we can look at
Okay.
that. um, so it's in Libra. uh, Excuse my chuckle just now. I actually have some people who have been very important in my life, including my own mother, who have Libra moons. And I was so focused on the aspect, I wasn't even noticing the sign. Although I did notice the house.
Hmm.
So the house is the third house, and that's about communication and thought. It correlates with the time in our life when we like are just taking in all sorts of information, and we're very curious, and just learning like little information sponges. It also correlates with just light communication, like if you are just out and about and you go to the bank or the grocery store and you're just chatting with someone next to you in line, or with like the teller at the bank, just or even like if you go to a dinner party and you're just kind of casually chatting with somebody at the table. Like it's those types of like very light social interactions that the third house represents, and to the quest for knowledge and curiosity. And having your moon in the third house is a very mentally active um, position, because um, all of that chatter is happening inside you.
Yes. Non-stop, 24/7.
Yes, and to make it even more interesting, it's in Libra, which is an air sign. And having Libra as an air sign means that it's also very mental, and Libra in particular wants to have harmony, wants to have um, fairness, balance,
Hmm.
peace, wants to um, have partnership. Like partnership is an important thing to Libra. And there's also this, with a Libra moon, this really strong focus on considering all of the different perspectives of
Hmm.
anything.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you have ever seen the symbol for Aries, or not the symbol, but the like, like there's a bull for Taurus,
Hmm.
and fishes for Pisces. For Libra, it's scales, like the
Yes.
scales to weigh things out. So Libra, it's just so spot on. Libra is always weighing things out.
Yeah.
Um, and so with a Libra moon, there's this like constant like considering, you know, every perspective you can think of, wanting to hear other people's perspectives. You are laughing, so I'm taking this as resonating. And because
Oh,
it's
no.
in the third house, it's just super mentally active. So this is a position where you might be thinking about what other people are thinking a great deal of the time. And you would be interested in hearing other people's perspectives, like with these people in my life that have Libra moons, and uh, they're in different houses. So for them, it's possibly even less intensely mentally active than it is for you, but it's still extremely mentally active for them.
Yeah, so much so that I've been suffering from severe insomnia over the last year and stuff. And, you know, I'm just started acupuncture actually to help with that. But yeah, everything you're saying makes perfect sense. Yeah.
I will bet. I mean, I don't know how you could not have insomnia and just constant mental chatter with this placement. So the people that I know that have this placement want to hear your perspective, even if there's, you know, even if you say, I don't think you're going to like what I have to say, or even if you are kind of judgmental in how you present it. Though, I mean, it's not like they have like no ability to be like, okay, look, I don't care what you have to say. Like, I'm done like interacting with you. Like, they can do that. But for the most part, you know, it kind of doesn't matter where the perspective comes from. Just the fact that it's a perspective means that it's worthy of consideration and fair consideration. Fairness is a big deal. So, so for the most part, you know, if you say something to somebody with a Libra moon, they're going to consider it a great deal and weigh it against other possibilities and other perspectives. And it's just kind of this like almost never ending weighing of things and looking at different perspectives. So the question is, how do you support this within yourself?
That's a good question.
So because
I'm still struggling with that.
Right. Yeah. So because you don't have any aspects to it, essentially, it's going to have to come from self. It's really the only way that you're going to be able to nurture your moon, because your moon needs to be nurtured. And this is going to be a really important thing for you. So it's very common for people to identify with their moon. So in IFS terms, we would say that they are blended with their moon a lot of the time.
And just having started, you know, with the IFS work, that's something I've really been recognizing, and why I really like the model so much, because it's helping me to actually at least consider the possibility of differentiating and starting an inner dialogue, rather than feeling constantly blended and to the point of overwhelm, which I've been going through in the last year and a half, big time, since I became a grandmother, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm really, really into this model, and I think I just need a therapist who's a little more trained than the one I'm currently with. He's only level 2, I think, and I need somebody who is a little more deeply or better trained in severe attachment issues, which I don't think this guy is. But anyway, it's something I'm working on, you know, sorting out and finding somebody. Yeah, definitely. And this is really helping a lot. Like I said, I'm really appreciating this conversation, because it's really clarifying things and validating my experience to such a big degree. Yeah.
I'm so happy. I'm so happy that we connected and did this call. What I'm wondering is, if you think that you have the capacity to hold this part of yourself in love and form a very strong attachment connection with this part of yourself that's so busy inside of you all of the time.
Yeah, that's definitely something I'll be looking at and exploring with much more clarity and intention. Definitely. Yeah, because yeah, it's really, this is really giving me something really important, and a focus that I can kind of tune into. Yeah. Yeah.
So one of the things that we can do in astrology is support a point in our chart by consciously focusing on a point opposite of it, even if there's no planet there of any kind, no placement there. Because, like, if you consider the yin and the yang symbol, so it's like, um, a circle, and it's got like, part of it is black and part of it is white, but there's a little bit of black in the white and a little bit of white in the black, and it speaks to well, there's a lot of different meaning to it, but the idea is that the higher expression of anything, the idea that I'm getting at, I should say, the higher expression of anything is always going to have a little bit of its opposite in it, and when it is going too extreme in one direction, that's the lower expression of it.
Mm.
So the way to balance out a placement in the chart is to focus on the point opposite of it, and make sure that you are incorporating a little bit of the opposite there. So the opposite of Libra is Aries, and Aries is all about the spark of life. It's the simplest sign, it's the first sign in the zodiac, and it's essentially just about action, decision, um, just doing the thing. Aries Aries can be very impulsive because it's just this desire to go, to act, to test your strength. Aries loves competition, and always wants to have a challenge to meet. Wants to feel its strength by rising to the challenge. And Aries can get very impatient,
Mm.
and if Aries feels like it's spinning its wheels trying to do something and not gaining any traction and not getting anywhere, and gets like too frustrated, Aries is just like, forget it, like nothing's happening here, this is annoying, I'm going to go in this direction instead. So Aries can like really go for something and then abruptly just be like, never mind, I'm going for something else. If it's too easy or too hard, that, if it's not a fun challenge, then Aries will go in another direction instead.
Yeah.
So, so if you have a sense of, let me see, do you have anything in Aries? No,
Doesn't look like it. No.
nothing in Aries. Um,
What
so,
does that mean, having nothing in Aries?
well, it just means that it's not an area where you naturally focus that much.
Okay.
But your ninth house is in Aries. So that means that, so the ninth house is opposite the third house. The third house is all about like detailed information and, light social interaction. And then the ninth house and the third house is also very local, like around the neighborhood types of travels. And then the ninth house is about long distance travels, foreign lands or, far away. Um, and even if you don't like actually physically travel, just studying about other cultures and other
Mm.
ways of life. Um, like the third house is very like detailed, and kind of superficially focused. There's a wide range of types of information, but it's just getting like the surface of all of it.
Hmm.
And the ninth house is, when you hear people say, I hate small talk, that's kind of a ninth house thing. They're looking for like the big picture of things, and philosophy, how does life work, um,
Yeah.
psychology, spirituality,
Hmm.
and not spirituality. There's like spirituality shows up in a few different points in the chart, but for the ninth house, it's kind of like from the how does life work like big picture sort of spirituality.
Yeah.
And higher education is also like the third house sort of correlates with like an elementary school kind of education, just like, you know, gaining knowledge. And then higher education correlates with the ninth house. So ninth house and Aries could be, you know, just being very spontaneous about ninth house types of pursuits. And, you know, Aries is, like I said, it's a spark of life. So there's enthusiasm there. So anything that sparks your passion, you know, if you can dive into that a little bit, just as long as it's interesting, and then you can go off and, you know, look at something else. But these kinds of things might support your Libra moon a little bit by making it so that there's not quite as much focus there potentially.
Okay. Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense too, because when I do get passionate about something and I kind of go full immersion, that's when I feel really good. Like it really it nurtures that place that you're talking about. Yeah, it really does. Like music and gardening, when I get into that sort of thing, it really, I really connect to those things, and I go like full immersion until I drop something and then find something else. Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. So I'm looking at your chart a little bit more to see if there's anything else that could be relevant. Okay, so I have a question. Does it feel right to see if your moon represents one of your parts? You know, to just kind of ask inside and say, are you know, if you've heard these things that that we're talking about here, is there a part of me that resonates with this, that identifies?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, for sure. And I'm not sure, you know, how to be specific about, you know, naming it or verbalizing it, but I definitely resonate with everything you've said, big
Can,
time.
can you ask the part what it would like to be called? And it can always, so sometimes it's he or she, and very occasionally, in my own experience, it. But you can just ask the part, like, what would you like me to call you?
Yeah, I'll have to sit with that because it's not something I can do in this kind of setting,
Mhm.
because I immediately feel put on the spot, like I have to, you know, come up with something, and then
Sure.
that doesn't work. So I'm just gonna have to be with that and see what comes. Yeah.
That's perfect. That's
Yeah.
perfect. Um, Basically, what I was getting at is that I just like to have my parts tell me what they would like to be called. So I
Yeah.
don't try to name any of them. I let them
Yeah,
guide
no, I have I've had some difficulty with that aspect of the process, because I think a lot of my parts are kind of nonverbal, and they communicate not in words or language.
it.
So it's there's something else that I have to sort of feel into, you know, regarding that question. Yeah.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
So I could expand about Libra a little bit.
Hmm.
What Libra likes to do is focus on other people's perspectives and other people's needs. And the idea is that if I meet your needs, then you'll meet mine, right?
Mm.
So that's why I said it's very partnership focused, because, you know, if you are doing that for other people, and they're not doing it for you, then, you know, it's not really a partnership. And that can be a little bit of the lower expression of Libra, is, you know, doing too much for others without having your own needs addressed.
Mhm.
And Aries is the opposite of that, in that it's very self-centered and focused on your own desires. And it's not in this way, that's like okay, I know that's what you want, but this is what I want, and I'm more important to you. That's not an Aries thing. This is just like so focused on, ooh, I'm gonna do the thing, that there isn't even a concept that, like, you know, other people might have a different, you know, thing going on, or, you know, it's gonna
Oh my
impact
God.
other people. Like, there's no thought really of the consequences when it comes to Aries. So that's the, you know, too much of that is the lower expression of Aries, and needs to be balanced out with Gemini's focus on, you know, listening to other people and considering their needs and their perspective. So part of balancing out this Libra moon is going to be kind of leaning into, like, what do I want to do? You know, like, and it's very action oriented. This is fire that we're talking about. Aries is a fire sign. So um, so some selfishness basically is is the idea. And the thing is, when it comes to IFS, I think that usually parts are polarized with other parts, regardless of what's in our astrology chart. So there may actually be a part of you that tries to do that regardless, to, you know, sort of compensate for, you know, the moon doing what the moon is doing. So that might be another good exploration. And then I have found in working with my own system that whenever there are parts that are polarized with each other, once I hear them out fully, both of them have a good point. Both of
Mhm.
them have a valid need. And the the balance of it is to find ways to address both needs in effectively, without necessarily having to use whatever behavioral pattern that part may have learned in order to do it, and
Right.
being consciously aware of it, and self-led in, you know, how to find the healthy balance, and you know, meet both needs.
Mm. Okay. Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, it's bringing up sort of a specific dynamic for me
Okay.
that I've been struggling with for most of my life. It has to do with my mother and grandmother kind of pulling in opposite directions
Mm,
with me in the middle.
I see.
And so again, that makes a lot of sense what you're saying. I resonate with that. Yeah.
Both parts of you need love and attention from you.
Hmm.
I find that with my very young parts, especially the pre-verbal parts, in my mind's eye, if I just hold them and rock them and, you know, just cuddle them like a baby, in my mind's eye, that tends to be a very soothing experience for that part and for me. And so when we like cuddle a person or an animal, we get like this release of oxytocin in our
Hmm.
brains that's associated with bonding. And I have actually kind of been wondering if when I do that kind of thing, I'm getting that release of oxytocin, because it sure feels like it. And I
Right.
think I think we need that as, you know, biological beings. I think we kind of need that. So um, I'd kind of wonder if, you know, some of the pre-verbal parts, and maybe not just your moon, but other ones too, um, you know, if that's something that would feel right to explore.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
I, you know, you don't need to tell me. You can, you know, just do whatever feels right to you,
Yeah.
obviously.
Sure. Yeah.
I wonder if that's good for now. If you know, trying to focus on anything else in the chart would be a bit much on top of everything that we just talked about. Like, you seem like you're pretty present, and you know, like feeling pretty decent here. And I think sometimes we don't realize um, how deep something is. And
Mm.
I also think that slow is fast when it comes to this sort of thing. So
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's great. I mean, we've been on it for an hour with a minus of initial technical issues, but yeah, no, there's a lot. There's a lot here that we've touched on, and that resonates. Um, yeah, definitely. It's probably, I mean, I'm good to, to finish up. I'm wondering if there's an option to maybe have a follow-up or something, like in a week or two or a month or whatever. Like it was, I'm thinking that's probably not part of what you had planned with all of this. Um, I'm just curious, and I'm not attached to it either way. It's just a thought that literally just occurred to me.
well, I really like that idea, and I do not have an answer at the moment.
Yeah. Okay,
um,
that's fine. So we can just be with it and see what comes up.
sure, sure.
Yeah. But yeah, well, thank you so much for putting that offer out there. And I, thank myself for following my impulse to actually put my name down. And because I hesitated a little bit and I thought, but then I thought, well, no, I'm just going to put it down there and see what happens because I'm really curious. So, and then what you said about the post being taken down, now I'm even more glad that I did that. So yeah,
Thank you.
thank you so much.
They
Yeah.
did they did offer me the option to put it in the there's a topic that's specifically for promotions. So they did invite me
Okay.
to put it there instead, but I had enough people interested already, even more
Right.
than I had planned on starting with.
Okay.
So I
Great.
didn't just, for the fact that I don't want to be spending the next 3 months, just doing these. I'm just so grateful that you were part of this exploration with me, and that you shared what you did and that we connected. So thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Okay, thank you.
You're
Okay,
welcome.
great. Take care.
You as well. Bye.
Bye.